Okay, so get this. What was supposed to be a regular, uneventful day for Prince Harry suddenly turned into this heart-wrenching roller coaster. No warning, no heads up, just an emotional sucker punch straight to the chest. Harry wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary until a deeply personal package, left behind by none other than Prince Philip, was placed in his hands. And inside, something that hit him so hard, he literally broke down in tears. Like actual tears. And if you know Harry, you know he doesn't let emotions take over easily, but this was different. It wasn't just a gift. It was full of meaning, a quiet message, a memory, a legacy from a grandfather to a great-grandson he barely even got to know. Like, what could possibly be so powerful to make Harry cry like that? Let me tell you, you need to hear this. So after Prince Philip passed away, there were months of silence. His things remained untouched, tucked away, kept exactly how he left them. And then slowly, the family began going through his belongings. Every item had its place, had its meaning, and guess what? They weren't just random keepsakes. Prince Philip had actually planned who would receive what. It was like he had written his own emotional will through objects, and among those carefully preserved treasures was a package with Harry's name on it. Wrapped gently, labeled clearly, meant only for him. When that box finally arrived, Harry wasn't prepared, emotionally or mentally. He was going through so much already. The drama, the distance from his family, the noise in the media, the weight of his choices, all of it. So when he saw this unexpected package, everything around him kind of just paused. It wasn't a big box, but it was heavy, not just physically, emotionally. He held it like it was fragile because it was. He slowly opened it, and the first thing he saw, a photo, but not just any photo. A simple aged picture in a no-fuss frame. Young Harry and Prince Philip laughing. A real moment. A happy memory, not staged, just real. As soon as he saw it, he froze. He stared at it for so long you'd think he was trying to jump back into that moment. And then the tears started to sting. But that was just the beginning. Next, tucked inside the box, there was this beautiful wooden case. Harry opened it, and inside, small everyday things that once belonged to Prince Philip. An old pair of cufflinks, a worn-down pocket knife. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive, but filled with memory and love. They weren't just things. These were part of Philip's life. He'd worn those cufflinks, he'd used that knife. These items held years of stories, of walks through the estate, of quiet moments, of habit, of ritual. And now, they were in Harry's hands. But then came the twist. At the very bottom of the box, hidden like a secret, was a handwritten note. Harry unfolded it, and when he read it, he stopped breathing for a second. It said that Prince Philip had personally chosen each item, and not just for Harry, but for Archie too. Archie. That's when Harry completely lost it. The tears that had been threatening to fall just broke through. You could say his heart shattered quietly in that moment. Because you have to understand, Prince Philip barely got to spend time with Archie, but he had thought about him, remembered him, planned for him, and now here was this box of memories meant to be passed on. From great-grandfather to great-grandson, Harry sat with it all. Every object, every note, every feeling. And you know what? He didn't rush. He took his time, held everything, studied it like each piece told a story, because they did. That box wasn't just a gift, it was a time capsule, a legacy, a message, a whisper from the past that still had something to say. And Harry, he knew right then and there that he had to protect it, keep it safe, keep it sacred. For Archie, because one day when Archie's old enough, he'll hold that same box and he'll know he was never forgotten. Even when oceans and choices separated them, Prince Philip had made sure that bond stayed alive. So after going through every single item in that box with hands that were practically trembling, Harry reached for what looked like a small book tucked at the very bottom. Innocent, right? But then something slipped out. A folded envelope. It looked old. The paper was thick, sturdy, like the kind you'd use when you're writing something really important. And on the front, just one word, Archie. Just that. Written in Prince Philip's handwriting. And at that point, Harry just held it. Didn't open it. Didn't even breathe for a second, because that name, his son's name, written by his grandfather's hand, it was almost too much to handle. Eventually, he sat down, took a deep breath, and opened the envelope. And inside, a letter. Not typed, not formal, just handwritten in a simple, heartfelt way. No fluff, no royal signatures, just Prince Philip writing from the soul to a little boy he never really got to know. It wasn't long, a few short paragraphs, but oh, the weight it carried. Harry read it once, then again, and every time it hit harder. Because this wasn't just a message for Archie, it was for Harry too. Prince Philip talked about family, about courage, about carrying yourself with strength. He didn't sugarcoat life. He didn't pretend it was all roses and crown jewels. He talked about hard times, about facing them head on, about not backing down. He didn't give instructions. He didn't preach. He just shared honestly. Like the great-grandfather talking across time, saying, here's what I've learned, and I hope it helps you. And get this, he even talked about Harry and Meghan, not by name, but he wrote about Archie's parents, about strength and kindness, about the importance of leading with heart even when the world is loud and cruel. That letter, it cut straight to Harry's soul. He folded it slowly, gently, like it was made of glass. He didn't put it away right away. He just held it, sat with it, let it speak to every part of him that had been aching for understanding. It was personal. Deeply, painfully personal. Because let's be honest, Harry hadn't heard words like that from his family in a long time. And here was Prince Philip in his own quiet way giving him exactly what he needed. Not judgment, not tradition, just truth. Eventually, Harry wrapped the letter in soft cloth and placed it carefully into a drawer. That letter, it was never leaving his side. Not until the day Archie was old enough to read it and feel the power of it for himself. Because this wasn't just paper and ink, it was legacy. It was love that lived on, even after the man who wrote it was gone. Harry sat for a while, staring at that closed drawer, trying to breathe through the storm inside his chest. And somewhere in all that heaviness was a strange kind of peace. A peace that only comes when someone finally sees you, even from beyond the grave. But just when you think it can't get more emotional, oh, it does. Because guess what else was in that box? A watch. Not some flashy modern watch, no, a simple, old-fashioned timepiece. Wrapped in velvet, hidden in a leather pouch that had clearly seen decades of use. It looked delicate, worn, but full of history. And when Harry turned it over, there was a name engraved on the back. Not Philip's, someone even older. That's when it hit Harry. This wasn't just his grandfather's watch, it had belonged to someone before him. A true family heirloom, passed down through generations. And now, it was meant for Archie. Harry didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at it, held it, imagined the hands that had touched it before, the stories it must have held, the mornings it had been wound, the nights it had rested on a bedside table, the lifetimes it had traveled through. He remembered seeing this exact watch as a child, but back then, it was just a shiny object. Now, it was everything. And then, inside the back of the watch, he found something else. A tiny folded note, almost invisible. He opened it carefully. Prince Philip's handwriting again, a few lines, just enough to explain that the watch had come from someone who taught him discipline, that it was given to him in his youth, and now he wanted Archie to have it. Cue the tears. Because this wasn't just a gift, it was a symbol of time, of patience, of the kind of strength that's passed on in quiet, steady ways. Harry held the watch to his chest, not to check the time, but to feel the pulse of the generations before him. He placed it in a new box, wrapped it gently, stored it with care, because he knew one day, when the time was right, he'd place it in Archie's hands, and Archie would know exactly what it meant. That night, Harry stayed up alone, in the dark, and he finally broke. After placing that precious heirloom, the watch, safely away, Harry sat alone in silence. The room felt still, but inside, total chaos. He hadn't planned for this to hit so hard. He thought he could go through the items, maybe smile, feel nostalgic, and move on. But that's not what happened. As the memories surged, the silence around him cracked. He walked around the room aimlessly, picking things up, putting them back down. His chest felt heavy. His eyes stung. And then he just sat and let go. The tears came slow at first, then fast. He didn't fight them, he didn't hide, he let them fall quietly, painfully. No cameras, no audience. Just Harry, finally facing everything he had been burying for so long. The letter, the watch, the distance from his family, the weight of choosing his own path, the pressure, the loss, his mother. It all poured out. He sat on the floor, back against the wall, head in his hands, shoulders shaking in silence. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was real. This wasn't just about Prince Philip, it was everything. And for the first time in a long time, Harry didn't run from it. He let himself feel. When the tears finally stopped, he was exhausted but lighter. He stood, walked to the drawer where the letter rested, and just placed a hand on it. He didn't need to open it again. He just needed to know it was there. Then he moved to the window, let the cool night air hit his face, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he breathed. He hadn't fixed anything. He hadn't healed completely, but he had cracked something open. And from that place, he could finally begin. The next morning, Harry sat outside, still quiet, still carrying the weight of last night. He pulled out his phone, stared at his brother's name, William. They hadn't spoken in a while. Too much had gone unsaid, but in that moment, Harry sent a message. Just a few lines, nothing dramatic. He mentioned the letter, how it moved him. And surprisingly, William replied. Not with speeches, not with judgment, just understanding. Then, a few days later, a small package arrived, no note, just a photo, an old one of Prince Philip with young Harry and William, arms around them both, smiling. That photo, it said everything. No apology, no explanation, just, I remember, I care. And somehow, that was enough. Weeks passed, but something in Harry had shifted. He still paused at the drawer, still held the watch sometimes, still thought about that letter. But now, he looked ahead, too. He started writing, not to publish, not to share, just to leave something for Archie one day. His own words, his own truth. He played with his kids more, smiled a bit easier, held Megan's hand a little tighter. He wasn't trying to fix the past anymore. He was building something new, quietly, patiently, for Archie, just like Prince Philip did. And maybe that's the legacy that matters most.